Hello.
Hey there.
Um, how's everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining us. This is a building a game in Screentop GG live stream. We're going to be answering questions, and hopefully this will be a good resource for people who are looking to bring their games over to a new platform. I'm David. I'm one of the organizers of Protospiel Online, and I'm a game designer. And I am so excited to be joined by Zoe Allred. Zoe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Zoe. I'm a ADHD trans mom game designer, and I'm very tech fluent and doing this thing where I help people prototype their games onto Screentop GG. So that's what we're gonna
Yeah,
do right now.
Zoe has sort of become the go-to resource for this platform. Um, you can find like all kinds of videos she's done in the past. She did a really great session similar to this with Matthew Hawker from Break My Game. She's also, what you're going to be seeing here today, she's starting to roll out this process as a service that she's offering. So I'll make sure to include that in the description of the YouTube video once we're done here. Which I should mention, all of this is being recorded. So if you're not able to make it live, you can watch it on YouTube, Facebook, and then it'll be on Twitch for a little bit as well. So yeah, I guess like one thing that before we get started, Zoe, if you could just sort of explain a little bit of like what is Screentop, why might it be a good option for some people if they're looking to bring their games over to a different platform? What can it do that the other platforms can't? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, Screentop is a fun platform because it is entirely web-based. So, there's a very low barrier to entry. You pretty much just need internet access in the browser, and it is completely free. And there are plans for there to be like a subscription model, but to be clear, the intent is that you might be charged if you were to sort of offer your games as like a purchasable thing.
Mhm.
So you don't really have to worry about like being charged to use it. And so one of the cool things I like about it is that compared to all the other online platforms I've worked with, it's incredibly modular. It's very efficient and quick to update your prototypes once you've gone over that initial learning curve.
Yeah.
The way it's structured is very different from our prototyping platforms, so there is a bit of a learning curve. But once you get over that, I find that a lot of people like fall in love with the platform, and
Yeah.
I think it's very much worth investing.
Yeah. I just anecdotally, like, I tried to get going in Screentop. You'll notice when we jump over to my game, um, I created a table, and then that was it. And after watching the Break My Game stream that you did, it like all just sort of clicked into place and started making sense. So I think if people stick with this video and all the other videos, I think this could like potentially be like the key that you all needed to have this platform make sense, because it is actually super cool. Um, let's get started. We're gonna go off video for this part because it'll be easier for everybody to see um, in full screen. So I'll go ahead and do that. I suppose we could be tiny down there, but it'll probably be easier if we. Let's see. How do I do this? This is the part where. I can't figure it out. So
It's fine.
if you don't mind being in a tiny little box in the corner, then let's do it.
That's totally fine by me.
Awesome. I'll hand you the mic then, and
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah, let's start by opening up what you've got so far. Let's
Cool.
take a look at this.
Cool. So hit edit.
And this is the page where you could if you want to edit like your store details and put an image or description, you could do that here with that low gear icon in the upper right. Or alternatively, if you just want to jump into like the prototyping, you could click on edit.
Cool. Awesome. So I'll do that. And yeah,
And
so you can see there's my table that I brought in.
Okay. So I like to start with the assets, because once you've got all the pieces in there, it makes it a lot easier to sort of step through all the pieces and link them together and see things visually. So let's go to assets first.
All right. Oops, I don't know what that is. I'll just delete that. Cool.
Okay, so you've got your table. So why don't you add, do you have like your assets in like sheets or tiles?
I do, yeah. And I've grouped them by like, so there's a couple different types of cards, and each card type is in its own sheet.
Okay.
And then all the player boards are in a single sheet.
Okay.
All the like resource tokens are in a single sheet, and then like the player tokens are in a single sheet.
Okay, awesome. So why don't we start by uploading those? And cool. If it sounds like there's probably like maybe 5 sheets or something, that sounds like we could probably upload those now.
Yeah, so let's see. For cards, I've got 3, and then tokens, there's also 3, but
okay.
Yeah, do you want me to go ahead and put those in there?
Yeah. Let's start. Yeah, we can upload 1 or 2 to get us started, whichever you feel comfortable with.
Cool. Let's do. Oops. Did I do the right thing there? Was it
that
plus sign?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that plus sign. And then you just upload your sheet.
Okay. So let's do the let's do these activity cards.
Okay. And now we're just going to specify the rows and columns. It looks like it's 5 columns and 6 rows. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And I can just name those activities. Oh.
Great. And then if you want front load by putting our sheets in, then we could do that too.
Cool. Let's maybe do some tokens.
Yeah.
I'll do these tokens here. And that's just 1 row and 5 columns. All that food. Cool.
Okay. And do you want to upload anything else while we're here, or we can always come back?
Why don't I do one of the major boards that everything is kind of around?
Oh yeah. I feel like it's easiest to work from like the bottom layer up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Cool. And that's just 1 and 1. Awesome.
Okay.
Cool. That'll probably give us a good amount to start with.
Yeah. So now let's go back to the top level. So yeah. So then now from here, you're probably gonna want to define components. And these are like the physical things that actually use the assets. So yeah, so click on components and let's make a brand new, like, let's start with the board. I think that makes this a good, so we'll probably, yeah, I'm thinking containers for your board.
Yeah. I know the answer to this because I watched your last stream, but would you mind mentioning what the difference is between a blank tile and a blank container? Or is that something that we're going to get to later?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the difference is that tiles are pretty much things that you can flip front and back, but things will not stay on top of them. So if you create like a tile and you try to stack another tile on top of it, unless they're the same component, they're just gonna like fall through each other.
Yeah.
So anything that you stack on top of something else, you're gonna want to use a container. The downside with containers is that they just have the one side. You can't really flip them.
Mhm.
There's some workarounds for that in the case that you did want to have some sort of a flippable container, and we could get into that if that becomes relevant.
Yeah, I
But-
think luckily with this game, I'm having a hard time thinking of an example where that needs to happen here. There are
Yeah,
double-sided components, but they're cards, so I don't think that's a thing. So cool, I'll blank container, oops, and then create. All right.
And so now we're going to want to define like all the attributes of that container. So click on that container. And the board is probably not going to get hidden, so the hidden stuff isn't so relevant. And the rotation orientations is just like how many different angles. So like I guess the way I think of it is like how many ways is this thing going to get rotated? And I guess for this it would be like, do you imagine people sitting at like 90-degree angles at your virtual table?
Yeah. The way I've usually set it up is on the short ends of the table, 2 people sit there, and then 1 person below the board, and then everything that's sort of above the board are like where I'm keeping like resources and cards and stuff like that. So yeah, I think rotation for 4 probably makes sense for this.
Yeah. I think so.
And I think I'll just call that apartment.
Make sure to save that because I'm always forgetting that. And then this sounds like it's a rectangle. So I'm guessing. So like this part's always a little tricky trying to figure out the exact sizing, especially for boards. If you have like an idea of like a baseline, like do you know like relative size your board is compared to like your cards?
Ooh. So the board is 18 by 18 inches.
Okay.
And the cards are like, they're a weird game crafter size. But like they could be, they're like slightly smaller than like sort of a standard card size. So I think they're like 2.3 inches by like 3.4 or something like that.
Okay. So what I like to do is like create like some baseline conversion rate of like inches to I'm not even sure what these are, pixels.
It's probably pixels, yeah.
Yeah, and then use that to sort of guide how I do stuff. And if you need to resize stuff later, it's usually not that big of a deal. Like you don't have to resize every individual object, you just resize the components. So just for the sake of progress, let's like say 100 pixels is an inch or something, and make this like 1800 by 1800. Is that
I think that makes sense.
And then you could make the corners as rounded or as not as you like.
I think that. Oh, I might go a little less.
Yeah. And you also have to click save before it'll actually show you what it looks like. Yeah.
Oh, just kidding. I'm gonna do a little more. Sorry.
Yeah.
I suppose it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah. When it's that big, you're gonna have to like do like 100 corner for it to be visible.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see how it's calculating that. All right. I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Okay.
I'll finesse that later. Awesome.
So the first thing I always like to do is set the variance just so it looks nice to me as a human. And so we're going to click on the variant again, and this is where you're going to set your property. So if you click on that like asset button on the right,
Mhm.
That's going to show you all of your sheets that you've uploaded.
Got it. So
And
this is the
then,
apartment.
yeah. And then if you click on that button next to the asset index, it'll show you each tile in there. I forget, it was the apartment just like the one
This
page?
is just one, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then in that case, it's just the one. And then,
Cool.
so you click that and then
Oops.
click save. Yeah.
Great.
And there you go. Okay, so this one is going to be a little challenging, not gonna lie, because there's not a convenient way to like drag and drop anchor points. So
Right.
there is like a bit of fudging around with the numbers to get that just right. I think it'd probably be easiest to I'd like to get more components into place so I could sort of visualize it, and also
Yeah.
you could put it onto the board to kind of see how it looks like when the components are actually there. So
Yeah. And I
let's go back.
think like we don't need to put a snap, like we can, if we just show like how to do like one or two,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's good. We
Yeah.
don't have to do this entire board.
Yeah, I do have an idea of something we could do to like to sort of, yeah, we'll get to that, but let's start by making like the components that will get put in those slots, because I could tell
Awesome.
something goes in those slots.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So would you like me to go back to the components tab then?
Yeah, go back to components tab, and then so I think, are these the are these more containers that go on top of those slots, or
Yeah, so the skillets that go on top of those would also be containers. Um, the assets I imported though were I did the food,
Mhm.
which those will go on these little spots as well.
Okay. Do you have so for the frying pans, do you have like frying pan assets, or
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I can bring. Do you want me to bring those in really quick?
Um I I kind of want to show two things. I kind of want to show the lazy way to do this, and I want to show like the fancy way to do this, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that's perfect.
why don't we pull in the frying pan assets that you've got?
Cool. Come over here, and then that's one row with 5 columns. Here. Cool.
All right, and then now go down to, go back to components, and we're going to make a container with the skillet.
Mm-hmm. Blank container, create. Cool. So when I'm naming here, this is not like I'm not saying like blue skillet here, right? Like this is sort of the generic object. Like the
Yeah,
variant is like where I'm picking the player color, right?
exactly.
Okay,
That's right. Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, for components, this is like the general like these are the like currencies or whatever, and
Sure.
yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that's skillets. I'll just save it as 4 rotation orientations for now.
And then how big are the skillets approximately?
Oh gosh, I should have measured this stuff out. They are
Or
they're
at least,
probably,
or at the
yeah,
very least, let's do like the dimensions, and we could fudge it.
yeah, I would say they are probably like 2 inches high. Like,
Okay, 2 inches high, and then like how about wide? Like 2 inches by 1, or
yeah,
okay.
yeah, 2 by 1 is probably close enough.
All right, so then if we're using our 100 pixels to inch ratio, then it would be like 100 width and 200 height, I think, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's at least a good starting point.
Yeah. And then if it doesn't look right, then we can fudge around with those
Yeah.
numbers. And then remember to save, and then we'll go to the variant.
Cool. variant. And then it's skillets. And now this is where I do want to specify like which player color it is, right?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm getting something ready so I can show what a fancy way to do this is. So
I
yeah,
love being fancy. All right, so
so yeah, select that and then click save, and then okay, so we can see a couple things here. We can see the dimensions are not quite right and the consequences of that. And the other thing is that even though there's transparency on it, like it's still got like this square around it.
Interesting.
So we could work we still work with this. Let's start by changing the fill color and the stroke color.
Okay.
You could change those to be transparent. See that like little slider underneath the you can slide it all the way to 0, and the same with the stroke color.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you can save that, and then let's go back to the component level so we can sort of fix the dimensions on it. So
I wonder if maybe like 150 might do it.
Yeah, maybe.
And then maybe 220.
Yeah, this is honestly my process too. I kind of just fudge it until it's just right.
Or what you could do is like, you could be me and prepare and like know how big your components are.
I mean, it's surprisingly something you don't think about sometimes. But let's start with this, or keep it here. If you want to be exact with it, you would have to know like your exact measurements of the original image. But so
this is good enough.
Yeah, just to sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about when I say like the lazy way. Let's start putting some stuff on your table. So go to see that join button on the right panel. Click on that, and then I don't think it matters which seat you take.
Yeah, I'll just hop in red. Cool.
And then if you use the chest, you can start loading the components that you've defined onto the table. So yeah, let's start by putting your apartment down. Yeah.
Cool.
And then let's put your frying pan on as well, so I could kind of show what I'm talking about. So,
oops.
Yeah.
Dude,
this is another cool thing we could talk about. So, if you don't set your anchor points or your drop zones, then even though they're containers, stuff will fall through them. So this is kind of what would happen if these were tiles. Like you lift up something and stuff that's on top is just going to fall through it unless it's explicitly defined as like something that's contained in it. But for right now, why don't you move the apartment complex aside, just so I could show off something. So you notice how when you grab that, there's like this outline around it. That's like to show that like the red player is interacting with that thing. So when you pick up the frying pan, even though it's got that transparent layer, it still has that box.
Yeah.
So do you want to see how to do it like this fancy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
it's Friday and I'm ready to get fancy. Let's do it.
So go down to the shape where it's set to a rectangle right now. I'm going to send you some coordinates that I calculated ahead of time. And I think these are not exactly right because I noticed that there's like side handles on the
it's got like little bumps on the side.
Yeah. So change that rectangle shape, and there's an option in there for path. So select that. And here's some like intimidating, scary stuff. But if you click on that library button, and you can see like what these are like SVG path definitions. And if you provide those coordinates, then it will create like these different shapes. So
Mhm.
I sent you a message with like our own like coordinates that we're going to try. And if you
Cool.
copy and paste that into that box and click save, I hope this works.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's add
Let's see.
Z.
Did I miss the Z? Oh, weird. The Z got cropped off. Oh, it didn't copy the whole thing. It must have been too long. Let me send this to
Oh,
you on Discord, maybe?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me try that.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, and then click save on that. So yeah, it's not quite right because it's not quite the right shape. But look on the right. We're probably gonna have to go back to a rectangle, but now it's like when you click on it, it's like exact and it's not as finicky or clunky. Because I think before, if you click on that transparent area, it will still pick it up because it's still a rectangular
I bet
object.
it does. Like if we just, yeah, it considers those areas outside to be okay. So
Yeah,
in the
so
case of this game, it actually would be. Oh, now it's the heart. Yeah, for the sake of this game, it actually would want to be the specific outline. Now, the way. So these points that you got from the SVG. Let's say I have an SVG, which I actually do for this file because I have like the laser cut thing.
We should do that now then.
Yeah, yeah, is there a way we can do that super easily? I don't want to like throw off your pitch, but like
yeah. So I've only just now sort of figured this out.
cool.
So if you open up your SVG file in like Notepad or something, you're going to see that it's in this sort of XML format.
Oh.
And somewhere down near the bottom, there's probably something that's called a path, and hopefully there's like one. And under there, there's like this D property, and it starts with M. It has a whole bunch of funky numbers, and it ends with a Z. And that's the segment that you want to pull out of that file and put in here.
Got it. I'm going to look real quick and see if I thought I had it, and now I'm realizing I maybe lied to you about having an SVG of this.
Oh, how dare you?
I could make one really quick in Illustrator, but I sort of... Ah, shoot. You know what? I wonder if I have... I kind of want to pull up an SVG of something just to sort of see... Just so we could show people what this would look like. It's not going to be the frying pan, but it could at least show us what this would look like.
Yeah. What I do a lot is I pull stuff off of Noun Project because like a lot of the stuff that's on there is available as
That
SVG.
is a really good call.
The only problem is that a lot of the times they're like somewhat complicated, and so sometimes I have to like modify them in Inkscape or something to get them to be a simple shape. But yeah.
Well, here's what I'll do. I found a good one. This will work. Hold, please. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to really quick change the screen that I'm sharing so that it's capturing my whole desktop. And And then I'm gonna do the thing. Okay, whoops. So
Oh,
everybody can
in
see
the stream.
that now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So here's my SVG. It's just a heart. So you're saying if I open this with like a text editor. Oh!
Yeah. Yeah, you can see like the code, and there's this path object, and the string that you're looking for starts with an M, ends with a Z. And so if you take that segment.
Oh, so it's like everything that's within the quotation marks, basically, is what I'm grabbing.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. So I could take that and then pop over here, and then go in here, and hit save. And of course, it's going to move me around.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you happen to find that skillet SVG, then you could just pop that in there, and then boom, you have your perfectly shaped object.
That is awesome. I did not realize we could do that in here.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of like little tricks. They're just not documented super well, unfortunately. Or
right.
they're like documented, but they're like documented for like programmers and nerds.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Lots of documentation, but with the caveat that it's for programmers and nerds. Cool. So amazing. I like my day job is in like graphic design, and I'm working with like SVGs all the time. I had no idea that you could open an SVG with a text editor and see all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Heather's like I'm having the exact same reaction, Heather. Like that all of this is just like has been there the whole time. I'm going to grab that one just so that we can keep the show on the road. I'm going to just throw this one back in here.
Yeah, we could do that, and then if you want, we could show off like something different. Like, for example, say we didn't have your asset sheet, but we had this shape. Let's go back to your variants.
Cool. For the skillets?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And let's go back to the blue one. So what we could do is we could remove the asset and then instead define a fill for it. And then that way we could just have your blue skillets, and then so that way you just have that one shape, and you could define a different colored one, like using that same shape, and not have to have texture explicitly.
Right. It doesn't even need the art on it. So like, let's say I'm super early in the design process. I just want a shape out there. Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah, and you could give it the stroke color again. I think we took it off to make it transparent, but I think...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way I can make... Can I change the stroke thickness?
I don't think you can, unfortunately.
Cool. Because it looks like it's on there. It's just very, very thin.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Very cool.
So that's enough to get us started. Let's... This looks like it's going to become relevant because it also looks like it's too small right now. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so, it's too small, and the board is probably too big as well. But that's all right.
This will be another good thing to show with these because it took me a little while to realize this. So let's go back to the component again.
Okay.
For the skillets, I'm sorry. And so with this one, it doesn't have like that clean, like this is the width and height, but you could still resize them. So you see that like resize button above all those numbers. So you could, so this is where you could sort of modify the height and width. So yeah, so let's fudge those around until it looks like it's about the right size.
I'm gonna go a little smaller. Maybe. I think that is close enough. That's
Okay,
close enough for our purposes.
cool. All right. So let's go. Let's start defining some like drop points on the stuff. Let's start with the apartment because I do want to get into like showing how to like define a lot of these points, because I think it's probably going to look intimidating to think you have to set every single individual anchor point here. So let's start by going into the drop zones. And we're going to create one for, we're going to modify the existing one. And we're going to say that it like takes those frying pans, the skillets. So under child components, you click on add, and this defines like all the things that could rest on top of this container. And then remember to save here. And then, so right now, even though there's no anchor point set, it will now move around with your thing, provide you. I think you still need to put it on top the first time. No.
I remember that being, yeah, there it goes. Cool.
Yeah. So if you had to like, if you were in a rush or you don't want to set all these anchor points, you could just get this going and be ready to start testing. But if you want to get fancy with the anchor points, then let's start getting into that. So let's start by defining one. So go into anchors. And these are like snap points in like other platforms. So start by adding one, and it's going to give you an option for point and line. And lines are more for like if you want like a spread of things, like if you're displaying cards in your hand, and points are probably more what we're working with here. So let's go with points.
Cool.
And then if you aren't somebody who measures precisely where like spots are on the board like a normal human, this is going to be where things are like kind of tricky. So like again, I find myself kind of fudging numbers here to sort of get things exactly where I want them to be. So if you click on that anchor, and then,
I see.
Yeah, so there's unfortunately no way to like drag that anchor around, but I'm going to, so if might want to fudge with those numbers to try to get the first one, and then we're going to see if we can do some magic to at least kind of get an idea of how we want to generate this, like, so you don't have to do all of them.
Let's see, maybe 720. Oh, close enough. Let's call it negative 725 by maybe negative 45. Oh, that's the wrong direction. 45, 80, 120. So close.
Yeah, this is honestly the same thing that I do. I just kind of keep fudging it until it looks about right to me.
Oh, it's so close.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's go with that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so now if you were to go back to your board state and you were to grab your frying pan, it now has like a little spot that it'll like go to. Or why is it? Oh, this is something I hadn't really counted. I've never really used snap points with SVGs before.
Ooh.
So I guess what's happening is that I think it's like snapping like the corner of the SVG, I think maybe that's what's happening here.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So I've never done this before, so this is a brand new thing for me. Let's see if you set all these anchor points. So I don't know if the anchor points... No, unfortunately, if you resize the board, after setting your anchor points, they will like need to be, they don't like scale exactly right, unfortunately.
Right.
I should make a feature request for that. Because that is something that I encounter sometimes, to be honest.
Right.
But so this is interesting. I didn't know this was a thing that happened with the SVGs.
We're learning live. Amazing.
Yeah. So it looks like So unless you um, unless you want to use rectangles, I would probably just end up having to shift those anchor points around. That's a little unfortunate. I wonder if that's like a bug I should report. I'm going to write this down. Because like another thing I really like about Screentop is that their developer is like extremely responsive to stuff.
That is
Like,
true. Yeah.
somebody reported like a numlock bug yesterday and it got fixed like immediately.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Okay.
So yeah, so let's I guess we're gonna have to offset it a bit. We're gonna have to shift that anchor point. If I had to guess, it would be similar to the dimensions of the skillet. So Nicholas is asking, did you define the component for the snap point to the skillets? So that's defined under the drop zone section for the container. So that's the snap point that's on the apartment board that we're working with. And under there, that's where we define the skillet as a component that could be put on that board.
Right.
So that's how we're defining the snap points for it. So yeah. Yeah. This isn't like our platforms where you define the snap point and then anything will snap to it. You have to explicitly say what snaps to it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, in terms of what we're working with here, I can't remember the exact dimensions of your skillet. I'm not sure if you want to fudge it some more to get it so it looks right, or
I think, for the sake of the tutorial, I think like it's more important that people sort of see like, if this was an object that was symmetrical,
yeah,
what we did would have worked.
yeah.
But because I've created a personal hell for myself, and nothing in this game is symmetrical or like sized normally, it's gonna take a little bit of finessing.
Yeah.
So
Things
that
will
is,
take finagling.
Yeah, for sure.
I think very few people design their boards like this is going to be exactly 0.5 inches apart. Like I think very few people actually do that. So things are going to take a little finagling.
Yeah. Which when doesn't it? Cool.
So I sent you a link to a thing called bulk editing. And we're going to use this to sort of grid out a bunch of snap points. So if you go to the very bottom of here, this has like a bunch of examples of different like code snippets that you can like copy and paste to use. And we're going to be using that one at the very bottom that says position anchor points in a grid. So I might have jumped the gun a little bit, but we're going to be copying and pasting that segment of code. So now if we go back to your thing, I'm imagining that code snippet is for like an even like grid of points. So for the sake of this exercise, let's try to do like the top 2 rows on that grid. So go back to your anchors level of the editor, and let's make some clones of that one anchor. And let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like
it's 1, 2, 3,
like
4,
11 more.
7, 8, 9. Yeah, there's 18 in the if we're doing both of those rows.
Okay. Yeah, we could do both of those. Yeah, well, let's do the 18.
Cool. So, I'll clone it 17 times.
Yeah.
To make 18 of them. Great.
And so let's select all of those. And then click on that little pencil edit. And then we're at the intimidating, scary code part. So this is where you're going to paste that code snippet that we grabbed from earlier.
Between the return and the curly bracket and semicolon, right?
I think you might actually just replace the whole thing.
Okay.
So just select it all and paste it. And so these numbers aren't exact for your purposes. So
Mhm.
with your setup, I think you've got like 6 columns and 4 rows. Is that right?
Yes. I should know this. I've looked at this board for 3 years.
That's what.
4, 6, and that, yeah, so there's like 3 columns of 2 that have like 2 small columns in them, and then there's 1 column that has 3. Yeah, so there's 8 across.
Okay. Oh, A across. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's so then we want 8 columns, I believe.
Mhm.
And
And then
I'm
2
realizing the
rows.
math isn't checking out here. How many
It's
points we
probably
have?
not, because I'm
Yeah. We could cancel out this and take a look at the board.
Yeah. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9. It's 9, not 8. I'm sorry. So if we jump back in here, just basic math. So if we do 9 and 2.
Yeah. And then
Cool.
so select and now here's like the part where we're going to be fudging numbers. And so what I like to do is like I like to sort of give an estimate,
Mhm.
and then I copy this whole segment of code, and then when it doesn't look right, I go back in and I fudge the numbers again and rerun it and
Yeah.
keep doing that until it looks about right. So
Yeah.
let's put an estimate for like the width between cells and the height distance between rows, and we'll see how close we got it. How many beans are in the jar?
Based on the track record I've had so far, I think it's not going to be close, but let's start with 200 by 200 as a starting point, and then I hit save, and we'll see what happens. That could have been so much worse.
Yeah. With actually with the offset on the SVGs, it might actually not be that bad.
That's not bad. Awesome.
But yeah, if you wanted to, I also forgot. I think that code snippet is also assuming that it's like in the center of your play area, because I also
Yes.
realized that it didn't. So let's go back into that, and so we could adjust for that.
Cool. Do you want me to copy that chunk
Paste that code back in. And so yeah, if I was to do this again, I would like add some like extra fields to this.
Mhm.
Hey there, Joe Kim. So like we're starting to get into the like weeds here, but if you look at the X column, at the near there where there's the X, you could like do like a plus and then some number to sort of define like where horizontally you want like the cells to start. And then
yeah.
and then again, another one for row, or like vertically where you'd want things to be.
So like if that would maybe look like, I'll just use 200 again. Like if I did, is that what you're saying? Like that?
Yeah, like 200 plus the stuff on the
I
right.
see. 200, right? Because math syntax, right? Not plus 200. Cool.
Yeah, and then that would shift everything like over and then down like by 200 units.
Cool. Yeah, so this like saves a ton of time. Like if this was, a chessboard or a symmetrical board where it is like really a grid, this is way easier than going in and plotting those individual coordinates for each of the things. And it's really actually not that hard when you look at what the code's doing.
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
just sort of work through it, like what the logic is. Like it's really not that bad.
yeah.
Um,
And even if you don't want to do all of this is like if you're working with like a huge grid. But say for your grid, honestly, what we're doing is a little overkill. What we probably could have done actually was take your first point, make a
mhm.
clone of it, and then adjust the X level until it's
Right,
about right.
right,
And then if you really want, and if you want to get fancy at that point, you could do the math difference between the two, and
right.
then just keep adding that to position your
Totally.
other ones.
Yeah. And it looks like I can go in here now. Now that they've all been set, I can go in and I could just click any one of these. So like if I did want to go in and maybe remove one or change individually the positioning of one of them,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can do that now
yeah, yeah,
with any of these. Cool.
yeah.
And
I've
this
done that
is
before.
Mhm. And this is all existing in a single drop zone.
Yep, yep. This is all in a single drop zone. So if if you want to have different types of objects that are also on there, you might define another drop zone. But
Sure.
for all the same components, you want all those contained in a single drop zone, because if you start
Mhm.
having clashing ones, I
Mhm.
think it's going to put everything into one of them as long as there's space for it.
Got it.
So yeah, so that is another thing we could look at. If I'm assuming there's probably only going to be one skillet on a space at a time.
That's correct. Yeah, there would
Yeah.
only be one token of any type on
Okay.
each one of these spaces
Um,
at a time.
so if we go into your anchor points,
Mhm.
let's go into like the first one.
Cool.
So we could, this is where we could define things like cards flipping face up automatically, or
Mhm.
rotating a specific degree, or saying a capacity so that only so many could go there. So you could set the
Mhm.
capacity to 1, you could
Mhm.
set the rotation to like 45, so the frying pan's like set
Yeah.
askew, and then save that, and then we could try that and see how that looks. Yeah. So it's,
Wow!
yeah. And then if you could copy and paste that skillet, and then what would happen if you tried to put one on top of it is that it would just get shunted to the next nearest
Sure.
anchor. So you could copy and paste it by doing Control C and Control V.
Does that
Oh,
work? Oh,
yeah,
great, it does.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And so
Oh, I
now,
see. So it doesn't even let me like that snap point that it's on isn't even showing up.
yeah, right, right, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And so even if you tried to put it on top, it would just sort of shunt it to the next closest one.
Yep. Yep. That's very cool.
Yeah, yeah. So this only set it for the first one, but we could use that bulk edit thing to set the capacity for all of them, or set the rotation
Mhm.
for all of them.
Mhm. Cool. And I would do that same way, just like going in here, checking off all of them, and then jumping in here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So like if you look on the right, you can see like number 1, it says the capacity and the auto
Mhm.
rotate, but the other ones don't have that. You
Mhm.
could like copy those fields right out of there and put it in the return bracket area,
Mhm.
and it will just automatically show that it's happening on the right side.
Mhm. So like if I just did that.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So now all of them have the capacity set already.
Oh, that was super easy. And I could
Yeah.
do the same thing with the auto rotate. I could do it with any of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So now they're all set like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And everything we're doing. Yeah, this is all gonna apply to like everything that gets placed in this drop zone. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
could we
want?
do? Oh, sorry. Go for it.
I was thinking maybe we should make like a food token that goes on the skillet.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm guessing back to components,
Yep.
create, and this is probably just going to be a tile, right?
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
it doesn't need to hold anything.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
just call this food. And then it's a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I need to save that, and I need to save that.
Yeah.
And then for variant, I will grab the food asset, which I could have just done from the dropdown. So I think the first one in there was dairy. Oh, and this is where back asset, this is where it can be a different image on the back if I wanted it to be.
Yeah. You can make it so when you flip the dairy, it turns into meat somehow.
Will it do anything if there's nothing there? Will it just be the same thing on both sides, or?
If you don't set it, it's going to use the fill color and stuff.
Got
so
it.
It'll be like the food, and then you flip it, and it's like blank. You could set it to transparent and have like some really trippy like.
It just disappears when it gets flipped over.
Like that coin from the Borges work, I forget.
I think I know what you're talking about. Amazing. So there we go. There's our little dairy token.
Yeah. And then
and I can click this to kind of look at the front or back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, that must be.
That's kind of fun. Just to
I've never
make sure.
seen that before.
Yeah. So like if I wanted to, like let's do the example we were talking about. Maybe it's dairy on one side, grain on the other side. Now I can flip back and forth, and it's a double-sided. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we were gonna figure out how to put these on a skillet.
Yeah.
I think was what we were talking about.
Yeah. So let's go back to your skillet. And now these have a drop zone as well because they're also containers. So I've actually never done drop zones for path objects before, so this might be fun.
We're gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So similar deal. Set the food tile component and remember to save, and then go into your anchors. And this one's probably just gonna have the single snap point.
Yeah, it's just a point. Yep. And
yeah, so you could see how it's like off skew.
Yeah. So I think let's do. I keep going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
180. Oh. That's close enough. And then maybe 200 and ooh, almost.
That's very close, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Capacity will be 1. Auto rotate doesn't matter for this, and it won't flip.
Yeah. All right.
Great.
So why don't we try creating like a food token and.
Yes.
Go. Got your dairy. And now it's got little snap points, and there we go.
And if I pick this up now, perfect. It takes it with it, and I can still snap it into any of these points, which we're just pretending these are in the right place. But amazing! Look at that.
Yeah. You'll probably want to either make the food smaller or the frying pan bigger, but yeah.
Perfect. Look at that. That's fun. Cool. Can we do some cards? I don't want to. How long do you have?
I actually got a fair amount of time because I could keep going for a while if you want.
I think maybe let's hit some cards, and then the multi-state clicker object thing, and then I think at that point that covers all the component types I have, and then we can have a look at Looks like there aren't any questions at the moment. Oh, hi, Joaquin. How are you? I didn't see you come in. Yeah, I think that will probably cover everything I've got in this game, and I think all the sort of key things that people might be looking for. So unless you have any other ideas once we hit those two things, that'll probably cover everything.
Yeah, let's go through them, and these things seem to organically come up.
Great. So let's do those. Ooh, you know what might be fun is instead of doing, because I'm gonna make everything difficult, instead of doing like cards that are just sort of the standard single-sided thing, can we do the cards that are double-sided that have unique backs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We should totally do that, because
Cool.
I think that's one of the things that's like easier to do in this than our platforms I've used so far.
Cool.
So
let me just make sure I brought in that asset. I did not. I'm gonna bring that asset in real quickly. Best friends. Cool. And there are 2 rows with 8 columns. Great.
yeah, this is gonna be great. Okay.
All right, cool. So
I'm gonna let you create the tile.
So I want to do this. This is interesting. So I want to do it with tiles and not playing cards.
Right, yeah. Playing cards is more like a default object if it's like a common component. Yeah, those are like more like, because if you look at the bottom of those, you'll see that it actually says that that's a tile. So these are more like examples of how you would get those pieces in.
Got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm doing a tile and I'm creating, and we'll call these best friends. These are never hidden. They are rectangular. They are, I'm just gonna make up, I'm gonna say 200 by 300. No, that isn't correct. Should be close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I want to do variants. And for variant 1, I'm gonna do my best friends with asset index. Oh, this is like actually, yeah. And then back asset is best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the asset index, I'm just gonna find the corresponding one here.
Yeah.
And save.
Yeah. So if you've gotten this so that they are 1-to-1 position-wise, like the next card is the next back for the next front card, then we could do this real easily.
Yeah, that's how it is, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. So, and how many best friends are there?
There are 8.
Okay, so let's go back to the top level variant. And let's make, so I think we need like 7 clones of that one. And so we're going to do a bulk edit of these. And so this is something that we did on Matt's stream, but in the same way that you could set the front asset index, you could set the back asset index as well. So if you, and you can see those cards again on the right side. So we're going to be setting the, excuse me, we're going to be setting the asset index to the index value, sort of in the same way we did with Matt. Your copy, or so yeah, it would be asset uppercase I index.
X. Okay.
Yep. And then colon and index.
X.
Yeah. And then a comma.
Comma.
Okay. And now that sets the front of the cards. You can see that they're counting
Yep.
from 1 to 2. So
Mhm.
now create a new line.
Mhm.
And for this one, we're going to set the back asset index.
X. And there I have the A and the I of index.
Yeah, so like
Uppercase. Yeah.
yeah. And for this one, they're starting at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do 8 plus index, then it should automatically set those up for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's try that. See if that. And then does the back look right on that one?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll have a whole bunch of cards on the same sheet, and they won't even necessarily be in the same place, but I can add just the right offset to
Mm-hmm.
set the backs right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have alternating things, you could use the module math symbol, which is like the percent symbol.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of cool tricks you could do with the bulk edit that
Yeah. It's like, let me just hop back in there. Because like, just for like folks at home who are watching this, like this is making like pretty good sense to me with like my like kind of entry level like web editing expertise. But like, if for someone who's like writing anything in any type of code is like a super scary and daunting task, like really the things we're doing, we're editing things in this left-hand panel, and the words and things we're referencing are just things that are in the right-hand panel. Like we're talking about like the index in the grid of assets that you're bringing in, like in position number 1, that's the front of card number 1, and the back that we're referring to is in position 9. So like all that's being copied over, like you really don't even need to know any coding. You're just referring to the thing that's in the right hand column.
Yeah.
Which I'm
Yeah,
only reiterating that just like because I know this is like the big thing that people bring up when they talk about Screentop, and they're like, no, there's code, I'm not going to do it. It's really like, if you just sort of like look at what's happening here, it's really not that bad. And
Yeah.
you know, like Zoe said, the developer of this is super responsive to questions and like either like technical support type things, but also like bug reports and stuff. Like the documentation does exist for this. So if you're watching this and you're trying to do this on your own, you can totally do it. It's really not too bad. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but you're totally right. It's really just like a text version of your objects on the right side, and you're really just you're kind of just like trying to tell the computer in its own way like how to modify all your text objects. And
Mhm.
it's not so scary if all you're doing is tweaking the number here or there or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah. So I think that's cards. Let's do the counter object.
Yeah.
So I think at this point I can probably... Ooh, I didn't bring it in. Let me bring in the asset for that. So it is... where did I save it? Boost.
Okay.
one row with 3 columns. Will this work for this type of...
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This will still work? Cool.
Yeah.
Oops, I forgot to... Okay.
So I'm not familiar with what this component looks like in real life.
Yeah, I should have pulled it out of the box. So it's basically like, imagine a player board, and then there are spots where there's like a little
like a folder tab.
Yeah, like one of those brass fastener things, so like it can spin. So imagine like a player board with 4 spinners on it that are attached on the back, and then you can like rotate this like 3-sided thing to show one of those 3 numbers above each of the spots. Yeah. So the way I've recreated this digitally is to just have like this kind of trapezoidal shape that just sits above each of the spots. That is like a thing that you can just click through to change, because it's easier to do that than to make like a rotating thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this will work out perfectly. I was already like very familiar with Lily Hop when I helped Matt, so I was like already had everything planned out in my mind. But this is my first time seeing.
I know. I feel like we should have done a call, and I should have like shown you some of the stuff that's in here, because I feel a little bad, like I threw you in the deep end a bit.
Oh no, but
so many weird things in this game.
I love it. It's showing, because like I was a little afraid that felt a little too scripted, but this is good because it's like all these curveballs. But this is going to be pretty easy to do. So let's add the component. There's one that's already perfect for this.
Yeah. So I think tile was I didn't name my friends, so I'm guessing blank counter. Is that what I want?
Yeah. Stick with a blank counter. And then, and it's got the same kind of deal. If you wanted to get fancy with it, we could define like a trapezoidal path for it.
Right.
But for right now, we could just do a rectangle.
Yeah. Cool. Size. What is size referring to here?
Size is referring to how many, the max number of the counter. So I think for this one it's 3. Because so what's going to happen is it's going to count up to 3, and then if you bump it again, it's going to reset down to 1.
Reset. Cool. Now, a thing that I've noticed in Tabletop Playground is when you do this type of object, it considers there to be a 0 index. Is that the case with this as well, or does it start at 1?
I do believe it has a 0 index. To be honest, I don't use these enough to know.
Sure.
It definitely starts at 0. I'm not sure if the 0 counts towards its size. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can always tweak it if it becomes a problem. But
cool.
Save that and do a guesstimate on the size, and
let's do. Well, my cards are. So let's do 200, and then I bet this is like 50. That's probably pretty close.
Yeah. And now we could go to variant and set your thing. And this one's just going to be like the first state on your counter. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then I think it should be ready. Try popping that. Well, you might want to set the fill color to transparent, but
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll grab that strip color as well. Great. Cool. I mean, I suppose. See, okay, so it is starting with an index at 0. So there are 3 states. Cool.
Yeah. And so if you go to those different states, I think it should show the different faces. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
So if we bring that onto the board. Oh, I accidentally made 2 of them. Cool.
So now is that like, so is there like one of those above each like segment on your?
Yeah, so you know what? Actually, here, I'll do this real quick.
Okay.
It's probably easier because this is such a weird thing. It's probably easier if I just grab it. We haven't made this player board. Yeah, I have them, but I mean, this is just functionally the same as the apartment board that we made. Like it would be the same. It would be a container, just resized differently. But this is how these work. They're like on little things that are attached to the board, and they just kind of clip onto the back.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So that's what that component is like. So
So then what we probably want to do here is make a drop zone on your apartment board for these.
ooh, sure.
So let's see, are they,
Yeah,
is
so
the
these,
apartment board actually bigger than the actual physical board would look like, or?
the right now on the table, yeah, this is this is quite a bit bigger than it would really be. Because like the apartment board is 18 by 18, and then these are like, I think like 11. They're like 10 and a quarter by like 7.5 ish.
Okay. Okay.
So
I guess what I was getting at is that like it seems like these counters are going to be like sitting in the middle of the board.
yeah, they would be like, they would be on these, and then this is sort of like the player board. So like imagine like, you know, in like Root where you've got like the central, like the woods are in the middle, and then everybody's kind of got their personal thing in front of them. So this would be, everybody would have one of these seated around the table. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So you could easily set like anchor points for those counters, and I think you could lock those counters into place onto the board so that you don't get accidentally picked up and moved around. And in the play area, I think if you select one and you press F, that cycles it through its different states.
Oh, yeah, it does. Cool. That's easier than in TTS and Tabletop Playground. This is why I was like asking about the index thing, because in those two programs, the index starts at 0, and the way to increment them is by hitting the number of the state you want it to go to. So it's a little confusing when you hit like 2, and the thing that shows up is actually 3. So what I've done in like Tabletop Playground is created an additional 0 asset, which is just a duplicate of the 1. So that 1, when you hit 1, it'll be 1. When you hit 2, it'll be 2. When you hit 3, it's 3. But here it actually truly doesn't matter, because the number to increment, or the key to increment, is always just going to be F.
Yeah. And I think if you do Shift F, I think it goes backwards.
It does.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more like your counter.
Yeah, it's actually behaving more like the real world thing. That's cool. Awesome. So yeah, I mean, ideally, the way this would be working, like I would have this thing, and then I could create a drop zone that, like, I would create a drop zone that would be for all the cards that get placed on this.
Yeah, right.
And then I could also create a drop zone for each of the 4 tab things.
Yeah.
so
And
that when I move it, it'll all move together.
exactly. And I was I guess the reason I was like confused about like the fact that their like sort of play area is included on this is that you could set your anchor points to be off of the object itself. So you can make it so those tabs are kind of hanging above the
Yeah,
board.
yeah. Yeah, no, and that's what I would totally do. Yeah. And you can kind of see that I've accidentally done that here with this. Like, here's an example of like
Oh yeah,
an
yeah.
anchor point. Like, these are not on the board, or they're
Yeah.
not on that. They're like hanging out
Yeah,
off
yeah.
the object. Cool.
And then even though it's off the board, they'll still move with it. It's kind of trippy and cool.
Right. Let me see if I can make that happen. Here we go.
Yeah.
So then if I pick this up, yeah, so that just kind of hangs out.
Yeah,
with the
it's a
board.
little trippy, but it's good for stuff like a play area. Like if you had like a supply in your play area, not on the board, but you want to move your seat for whatever
Mhm.
reason.
Right. Ooh, that reminds me. Can you show us how to make like a hand, like where
Oh,
a hand of cards would be?
absolutely. Yeah. So this is like a standard. This is a thing that I do in like all my games.
Mhm.
You're gonna need like a special component, like a special container just for like your hand.
Mhm.
So let's define a new one.
Mhm.
And we don't really need an asset for this.
Mhm. Cool. So just another blank container.
Yeah.
Um, I'll just call this hand. Okay.
And then for this one, you probably just want it to be like, I don't know, like the width of like, I don't know how many cards you might have in your hand.
You'll never have more than 8.
Yeah. So you probably want it like, you don't even need it that wide because they're going to be sort of splayed. So like, I don't know,
Right.
maybe width of like 5 cards, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, why don't
And
I do like 800?
yeah. And then a little bit taller just so that it's a little bit more encompassing and you can still grab it. And then if you want to set like a color for, what I like to do is I set the color according to the player seat. And then under drop zones is where you would define the cards that would go into it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And if it was multiple card types, so I could do my. Oh, I wonder. Oh, tile 1 was my friend cards that I didn't name. So I could say, if there were multiple card types that this could hold, I could include all of those here.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so this can hold my best friends. And this is where I want that line anchor, right?
Yeah. Lines are really good for this kind of thing. And you could set the line to be wider, you could set a bigger gap. It all depends on how much space you want the cards to have and stuff like that.
So I'll hit that capacity with 8.
Yeah, and you don't even really need a capacity if you don't want one. You could just
okay.
let it have as many cards as you want.
Now, which one of these is the length of that?
Oh, that's going to be the, for the line, that's going to be your X0 and your X1. So what's defining is the 2 points on your line.
Oh, it's okay, I see. So if I make this like negative. Got it. Okay, let's do like negative 350. Cool.
Yeah. And so if we were to create that on your table,
Let me bring in those cards as well.
yeah.
Oh, so I can, all right, select all. Great.
Yeah, so now that will hold your cards, but it's not going to hide them just yet. So for that, you would need to right click on your hand zone, and that's where you would have, this is getting cut off by our cameras, unfortunately.
Oh, shoot. Okay, let me,
yeah, that's good.
is that better? Cool,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
better. And yeah, so this is where you could set a view policy and an interact policy and set those so that only specific seats can view it or interact with it. Mostly you just need to set view, and then people could still blindly take out of it, but they can't see it. And then you would specify which seats could see the object.
Got it. So if I was the red player...
So what you're looking at right now, that's how you like look at the component of it. You want to look at the view policy.
Got it. So I want to allow...
Yeah, you want to allow seats. Yeah, you can also do like a Hanabi kind of thing where only one player can see it.
Allow seats, and then for seats I want red.
Yeah.
So
and
now
I think your seat is, yeah.
Yeah, so if I switch to... I mean, I can even see... Yeah, so I'm in yellow now, and I can't see it.
Right, yeah.
But I could jump back to red. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that was view policy, allow seats, and then I selected the appropriate seat that can see it.
Hey, Jamie just joined chat.
Jamie! Jamie, they finally get to see roommates. Yeah, well, you're seeing something.
Yeah, it's a work in progress right now.
we are skimming over the highlights, and actually, Jamie, you're just sort of catching us on the tail end, because I think we've covered everything that I think we need, like the big sort of core things that I wanted to touch on. I think we've covered it all. Zoe, are there other things that you would like to run through, or anything else you could think of that might be worth showing?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what. So like in your game, is there just like the one apartment building that's like used, or does every player have their own apartment building, or
no, it's one central board. Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, then I think there's not. Maybe one thing that I just like to show at the hidden zones, because so like you could, so a lot of the times when we were looking at our components, there was like this hidden policy. And so if you go over to like the component for your for the best friends, I think they're called
like back in here. Yeah, I'm gonna rename that because it's confusing me. There we go.
So if you change the hidden style on that, and you changed it to like front, I think there's a front and a back and a none option. Like what you set there is going to determine how it appears when it's hidden. So you could set some things to not be hidden at all, even in hidden zones, and you can set other things. So like a lot of things will, like on TTS, it shows like the back of the card. If you want to keep that sort of feel, you could set it so it shows the back of the card.
Got it. Right, just because what it's doing now, if I remember correctly, because it's set to opaque, it's just showing like a generic thing.
Yeah, it's just sort of blacking it out. But if you change it to the back, then
cool. And then none just doesn't.
It just shows it as if it's not hidden.
Cool.
So that's useful for some things, like you want some information to be public, but it still makes sense to be in the hand. Like
right. Very cool. Oh, you know what we could do that this game does have that might be useful, and I'll have to bring in another asset to do this, but like a bag, like a token
Okay.
bag.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. For that, that's going to be like another component, another container. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Let me grab my. Let's bring in one more asset.
Oh.
4. Cool. Component. Okay. So this would probably another container, right?
Right, yeah.
And oh gosh, I got in a bad habit of not naming my stuff, so now I'm losing track of what.
It's very possible you set the name and forgot to hit save. I do that all the time.
Okay, so I've got my bag, hidden style. This actually doesn't need to be hidden.
Okay.
It's okay if people know how many things are in the bag. This is just for organization.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think there's actually a way to hide the number of things in the bag right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's like a requested feature, because right now you won't be able to see what they are, but you'll see that there's like 10 things in there.
Got it. Okay. Cool. So this is another one where I probably would do it with like a path if I.
Yeah. If you had like the path handy, you could do that, or you could just use a rectangle for now.
I'm just gonna do variant. It's gonna be this. We'll just do the one for dairy. Oops. Let's just give that a little more. Whoa. There we go. That's close enough.
Yeah.
And then do I want to put a drop zone on this?
Yes. I apologize if I'm not talking much, but I'm trying to see if I could let you see how much.
Yeah, no,
from
that's
memory.
good. So I think. Yeah,
that's what we were doing earlier, Jamie. We were like doing a transparent background, but we were also demonstrating the magic of like SVG pathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you missed you can watch it in the replay, but you watched Heather and I get just completely floored by like things that we just didn't know about SVGs. It was amazing. So I'm doing an anchor, and I think I want to do this as a point, because it doesn't. Oh, and that's like almost exactly where I want it.
Yeah,
Cool.
it usually defaults it to the center, but I guess for path objects, it actually defaults it to like the corner or something.
Mm-hmm. So I think that actually kind of might be it. I mean, I could do the thing again where I fake this just to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
But if I go in here now, do my treasure chest. There it is.
Yeah.
And if I get my food token, which is way too big, but we're going to pretend it's a normal size, that can just sort of snap in there.
Yeah.
And they'll just stack on top of each other, and it'll just show how many there are. Great.
Yeah.
So actually,
like a deck. Yeah.
And I think this is maybe one of the things that like kind of makes it very clear like what some of the benefits are of Screentop versus some of the other platforms is like I'm looking at this now and I'm almost wondering if like the bag is even necessary for this game, because it's just stacking them. And like bags and TTS and Tabletop Playground have a sort of functional purpose because it's less stuff to render on the table. So if you hide those components, it's a little kinder to people's like processor and stuff. Here, like, because this is all 2D in a browser, it really actually isn't a big deal if everything's out on the table. And it's already stacking them so nicely and like putting a number on it that like you kind of don't really even need bags if you're just using them as a place to put stuff.
Yeah. And if you still want the aesthetics of the bag, you can still have it. One thing I like to do for those is I like to remove the snap point so that they could just be, I think I showed this on Matt's stream, where you could just like have them scattered in there, and then when you shuffle them, they
that was fun. That was really fun. I'm trying to remember. I think it was about like towards the mid to end point of that stream. Look up the stream for the Break My Game stream that Zoe did, where she went through Screentop. There's a very cool trick that adds like a little visual flair to when you are like shuffling the components of a bag, or like simulating shuffling components in a bag. It's really fun, and if you have a game where that's a thing, I highly recommend looking that up in that video, because it's I mean, is it hard? I can't remember like how complicated it was to do. I'm wondering if it's worth doing here.
It's really not that difficult. All we gotta do is set the hidden zone on your bag to, we just need to set it to deny all visuals. And we also need to remove the snap point. So if you go into the anchor, the drop zone, I'm sorry, and then go to your anchor and just delete that anchor. And then if you right click on your bag, and you change the view policy on that to deny all. And then if you were to just throw a bunch of food tokens in there, you could copy and paste them, or
Here, let's I'm like a 5th grade teacher giving a presentation, and I'm doing the thing where everybody's got to watch me right click and then paste, and all the students are like, oh my gosh, why can't this person just Control C, Control V? Okay.
And then if you click on one of them inside of that container, and then Control A, it will select all of them. And then you can press Z, and that will shuffle all of them around.
All right, this is fun.
Yeah. So if you had like a whole bunch of them, then they'd be all scrambling all over the place.
I love this. I think it's so fun to watch. Zoom in. Let's get that nice and close. For some reason, I was remembering this being way more complicated than it is. So I do need to have them all selected.
Yeah.
Why is my emoji keyboard? There we go. And then Z. Sorry, was it Z?
Yeah, Z will shuffle them. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so like I was working on a game for a while that had like these tiled map. And you know, like whenever you play test somebody's tiled game, there's always that part of like, hold on, I just need to set out all the tiles. There's like there are like 2 really cool things about Screentop in regards to that. If you set up a whole bunch of like anchor points with just a capacity of 1, you could grab like a fistful of tiles and just drop them on that grid, and it will just lay them perfectly without you having to like individually place them. The other thing you could do is you could just have your tiles already laid out and be like, we need a new setup. I'm going to select them all and shuffle them, and it will do what we're seeing here, where they're kind of just shifting in front of you, and it will just like some whimsical like shifting library where everything just sort of shifts around.
That's really fun. I'm imagining something like that working really nicely for Matthew's game. Matthew makes
Mhm.
a lot of games that this is actually a really great tool for.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like Bittersweet, where it's like rows and rows of cards that are all laid out. I could see that being a really useful setup, like having that grid of points. You just shuffle it and then just throw them all out there, and it'll just arrange that grid for you right away.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, I said the shifting library thing. I was like thinking like Library Labyrinth is on Screentop. I
Yeah,
want to load it up and just do that so I can see it happening.
I mean, we could do that.
Yeah, we totally could.
Let's just do it. Let's just do
Yeah,
it.
it's on the front page too.
This
Yeah,
game
there
is
it is.
great. If this is another Protospiel alum made this. I believe it's going on Kickstarter soon, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
hasn't launched yet, but soon. It's really fun.
Oh, on March 1st. That's like in a few days.
Oh my god, is it that soon?
Yeah, yeah. So there are all the tiles up there. So I think I'm not sure how I haven't loaded up her mods yet, so I'm not sure how all the things are set up. But like, oh, you have to join first before.
Oh, I have to. I was wondering why nothing was working. There we go. Okay. And I just Control A on this to select everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she.
Oh, it might.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she set up for what we're talking about. Yeah, it looks like they're individual drop zones, so it's not going to be as cool. Well,
yeah, it's
well, let's see. Actually, send me a link to that game. I could actually. I could actually join in and see what sort of magic we could do here.
This is the part of the stream where, if anyone's watched a stream with me before, you know that the last like 15 minutes, I just go completely off book and we just start messing around. Now we're just having fun.
So unfortunately, the way, because like each of these containers is set up as an individual container, I don't think there's like a convenient, like, yeah, there's, and also the capacity on them is set. I should talk to Jess and be like, hey, I could like streamline this for you.
Yes, you're watching this.
Yeah.
So we can make this way easier for you.
And then, oh, I think we have two here. But like, so if you were to like select all of these,
yeah,
then you could like, or can I do control? Oh, I can't because they're all in different containers. Then you could like, oh, I won't because they're in separate containers.
It's all got to be in the same container.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. If it was all in the same container, yeah, it might not work for her specific game. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to remember if there's like a functional reason why it needs to be that way.
Yeah, there might be. I think it might be something to do with this and how it moves around. It also is just it looks nicer when you're moving, because otherwise the whole board kind of lights up. So, I mean, it's an adaptation sort of aesthetic decision.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, Jess, but also we could have just generated some really phenomenal content, and the way you've set up your game is really.
Well, we could sort of simulate it here. We could like what I wanted to happen was we have these tiles set up and you can see the library shifting like this.
There we go. Yeah, this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, this is what we wanted to see happen. And then if you reveal them, then it looks even more whimsical.
Really fun. So that's Library Labyrinth. Back it on Kickstarter on March 1st.
Yeah. This game is so chock full of like amazing like women and non-binary characters.
It is like we're like messing around with components right now, but like this genuinely is a fantastic game. So if you haven't played it yet or you don't know anything about it, have a look at it. It's a really fun thing.
Yeah, there's not a lot of games where you could play like as like friends of Ada Lovelace and like a public universal friend. Like,
Yeah, it's really a special thing.
Mhm.
And I think, just to again point this out, like how easy and seamless it was for Zoe to join the game that I set up. Like I just sent her that link. She didn't have. I think I can set up a password if I wanted to. I could make a. Is that correct? Like I could set up a password protected room.
I am not sure. I think I'm not sure if there's support for that right now. I think they
But I
haven't had
suppose it
like
doesn't really matter because the room is like a random string of
yeah.
letters.
You
So
would
like,
you would need
yeah,
somebody that's like going out of their way to like break into your room for it to
yeah,
be a problem.
yeah. But I sent Zoe that link. She clicked it and she was in the game. It was like it took like 5 seconds. Very cool.
Oh,
I'm really excited about wrapping up this mod for roommates and like really starting to invest in this as like a platform that could work with it. Hopefully people watching this have like seen stuff we've done and are seeing ways in which their game could work in this platform. It can do a lot.
I apologize. We have a question.
Yes.
Could you have two boards with two separate sets of snap points, each defining different things that could be on top? Yeah, absolutely. You could define each board as a separate container, and you could give them drop zones with different things that could be in them, and they could contain the same things. There could be some overlap, as much overlap as you want, and you could set where those snap points are. They wouldn't if they're going to have different snap points and different like objects that could be in certain places, they wouldn't be able to be the same component. So if you wanted to shuffle them around, that would be challenging. You'd have to like do some finagling with like having common anchor points and common objects, even if they aren't the same across. But that's a very rare use case that I'm trying to conceptualize right there. But yeah, you could totally have two separate boards, define this two separate components, and define their snap points differently.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I should ask a last call on questions because we are approaching the 2-hour mark, and that feels like a good place to kind of wrap things up. So if you're here and you've got any lingering questions, go ahead and throw those in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much, Zoe, for joining. I hope you had a good time. I had fun. This was super helpful for me. I think it's going to be really helpful for other people. And this is the beginning of content that I'm hoping we can make for Protospiel, where I'm hoping we can do a couple more sort of like pre-recorded things that I'll work through and set up for people that address like specific things we talked about today. But for now, this is like a really good like just sort of dump of like all the things you may need to put in your game. Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, seriously, like there's like I feel like I learn something every time I watch one of these. It's great. And yes, we are going to be doing a live stream next week for Protospiel that's not related to. You might learn something new, but it's more just sort of hanging out, having fun. It's our giveaway live stream that we do after each event. We've got Protospiel coming up at the end of April. Badges are on sale for that. And yes, I mentioned this at the beginning, but I'll mention it again. Everything you saw today, except for messing around in Library Labyrinth, is something that you can get in touch with Zoe about and have done for your own game. I'm going to be throwing links to that in the description. I'm doing just like a real YouTuber. I'm doing the whole...
Click
links in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All of that stuff will be available for you in the description. Get in touch with Zoe, check out her work, and Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Zoe. And I think that's it. Should we call it there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a good one, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you
Bye.
so much.